Well, I can bring you our next episode, the 4th Maritime Medical Marijuana Show. This is my joint host, David.
This is my joint host, Donna.
This is my joint houses. Houses.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yep, that works. Okay. Today's episode is brought to you by Karma Compassion Society. At Karma Compassion, they believe that people that may be treated through the use of cannabis for various conditions should be allowed to do so without fear of discrimination, persecution, or fear of arrest. They take care of patients from Ottawa to Halifax, and by take care of, I mean they help people grow, prepare, consume, and manage their medical marijuana. Before we begin, there's a couple of shout-outs I'd like to shout out about. First, I'd like to mention MUMM, Maritimers Unite for Medical Marijuana. You can find them online, www.mumm.ca. Yeah, absolutely. We're all actually members, so it wasn't the way it was supposed to go. It's just the way it wound up. It's a great site. Could always look for new members, and we got our Harvest Fest coming up here next week, and hope to see a lot of you guys there. Get your tickets at the local shops. Second is madstories.ca. It's a site that David put together. If you're looking for information about becoming a medical marijuana patient or just information about medical marijuana and cannabis in general, it's a great place to check out. Worthwhile making the visit, and there's a lot of useful information there. And last, I want to thank a buddy of mine, Dan. He donated this herbal and aromatherapy vaporizer for us to give away here on the show today. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, and maybe you can be the one that gets the BC-style vaporizer is what this is actually called. Well, you talked to your doctor. He said you can get medical marijuana, and that's where it ends. Okay? There's filling out the forms, there's growing the marijuana, there's all the stuff that has to go with it. David is going to help talk you through filling out your forms, getting them prepared for your doctor so you have the fewest hurdles possible, and less chance of having your form sent back to you being done incomplete or whatever. We'll talk about transplanting. That's Lizzie from Elizabeth, the Big Bang clone. She rooted, thank God, otherwise I'd have looked like a bit of a clown. And then we're going to interview Donna. Donna's our joint host today and our interviewee. And she'll talk about her experiences with medical marijuana.
Okay, so there we go. Here you can see the forms. We're starting off with Form A, and the first thing you'll notice is the very first page of Form A. Now, like Chris said, you should go to the website and print off these forms so you can follow along. The very first page, you'll see an original authorization, and there's a blank checkbox. You see that we got it checked here with a red check mark. You'll see a lot of check marks in the boxes that would be appropriate for someone who's doing an application that's, statistically most people would do. So it's a common application. All right. What are you trying to say to me, Chris? What are you trying to say? All right, so here we go, starting with the applicant's information, Form A1, page 2. And it starts off, you can see we got an applicant, Mr. Irwin Peabody Freely. Now, when you put in your applicant's name, Freely is the last name, Irwin is the first name, and Peabody is the middle name. So you can see it's last, first, middle. Then we have the date of birth. Born on the 20th day of the 4th month in 1420.
It's because he uses marijuana as medicine, right? That's the only reason he's still alive.
Yeah, how old is he? Like 600 and something?
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, and he's
marijuana.
He's only just filling out his application now. And he lives at 420 Cannabis Way. So the city Sensimilla, province of Nova Scotia, and the postal code is TOKPOT. Now, if you try to write Mr. Freely, he's not going to answer you. He's pretty private guy. You might even get something back saying it's not a real address. I don't know. He's pretty tricky that way. So, then when you come down the application, you can see Mr. Freely put in his phone number, his fax number, and his email. As well, this is a private residence. It's his apartment where he lives. So he checks off the box stating that's a private residence. If you were in a hospital or something like that, you check off the next box saying where you live. There's also mailing address. if you want stuff mailed to a separate address than this. Then we get onto the photograph. Even though you bring your photograph into the doctor, it comes within the standard that Form A states, being within, this box size, with the doctor's signature on the back, stating that you're who you say you are and all that stuff. You still have to make sure you check the boxes saying that you've enclosed the pictures and that the back of one of the pictures has been signed by the doctor. Alright, so we come to the next page, appointed representative. This is basically if you need someone to call Health Canada from time to time or something like that, to be able to access your file. Just like if you had a credit card and you wanted to put somebody on your file so they can call and ask about the bills and all that stuff. In order to be able to do that, you have to appoint a representative. And you check off the box that you consent to Health Canada to exchange personal information, and then you put in your appointed representative. In this case, it's Mrs. Ira Fix You Up. So again, it's last name first, Fix You Up, and first name Ira, and middle Donna. And her personal information, where she lives, phone, email, all that good stuff. The next section you'll see is the proposed site of marijuana. In here, because we're going with kind of the standard application, what most people do, we check off, I plan to produce my own marijuana, because most patients end up doing this. Now, there are other options there, and I'd especially like to bring your attention to this one here. I plan to purchase dried marijuana from Health Canada. You can check this box even if you check this one, because it kind of makes sense. You're going to grow your own, but it might take 3 months before you go from seed to crop. So for that period of time, you can purchase from Health Canada. Now, you'll also notice down here, Mr. Freely had to print his name. And you'll see on many of the pages, name. Make sure that you print your name on the bottom of the page, wherever it says name on the bottom of any of the pages. Authority to communicate to Canadian police. When you're filling out these forms, everything you sign is going to be, you're going to be part of the marijuana medical access regulations, but you can see right here in the forms that you're letting Health Canada tell the police about some of your, medical information for whatever purposes they need. And you can read that as well as the declarations. The next thing, you need to actually read these and understand what it says. Then you would sign it as the applicant. Mr. Freely signs here, and then Mr. Freely printed his name and put in the date he was doing the application. Now, we're doing this in sequence. Most people would fill out this next form, Form B1. But there's some people that won't be able to fill out this form, and I'll go through it to make sure you understand what's going on. So, the B forms, B1 and B2, this one's B1, is for the doctor. Now, you can still fill in a lot of this information so that when you go to your doctor's appointment, the doctor has very little, if anything, to do. In this case, the medical practitioner's name is Dr. Actually Signs. You can see they need to put in a licensing number. We don't know it, so we never put it in. Mr. Freely doesn't know it. He never put it in. Stamped it. And, of course, the information where the business is located for the doctor. You have the applicant's information again, and you'll see this, you'll be putting in, as the applicant, you'll be putting in your information over and over again. So, Mr. Freely, the date of birth, and telephone number. Okay, so Mr. Freely, he has epilepsy, and he has seizures, and he uses cannabis to control his condition and symptoms. And for category B1, Mr. Freely falls in the section where you can see epilepsy, and you look for the white blocks. So the row, epilepsy, matches up with the column, seizures, and as you can see, it's a white block. So they're able to tick that. They qualify as a B1 category patient. The reason why this is important is because Mr. Freely wouldn't need a specialist at all, unlike Category B2. Now, beyond the conditions in the Form B1, there's also, in that chart, there's also being treated in the context of compassionate end-of-life care. So even if you don't have one of the conditions or symptoms listed in the chart, you can still get a general practitioner to fill out this form. The proposed daily amount. Now, we got a number sign in here because that'll really depend on your own personal knowledge of how marijuana works for you, or perhaps if you don't have any idea, your doctor can suggest something to put in there. The administration, or how you're going to take it, you can take it either inhalation or oral. We check both because Mr. Freely uses vaporizers and he eats it. That's what he needs to take care of his epilepsy. And again, you can see the name down here that Mr. Freely printed. So keep aware of that. Finally, the medical declarations of the doctor. There's a couple important points here that I want to get to. In the declaration that the doctor is signing, it says conventional treatments for the Category 1 symptoms have been tried or considered and have been found to be ineffective or medically inappropriate for the treatment of the applicant. Now, I gotta say here, I don't understand why this is on the doctor's form, because to me, it's the patient who decides if something is effective or appropriate. It's the doctor's job to tell me all the risks and everything else, but in the end, it's my medical decision. I'm aware that a notice of compliance has not been issued under the Food and Drug Act regulations concerning the safety and efficacy of marijuana as a drug. Now, that is true. It hasn't been approved under the Food and Drug Act. It doesn't have a notice of compliance. It has been approved under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, just so that you guys know that. And then the doctor would sign it, print their name, and the date. And the doctor that signed this is Doctor Actually Signs. He's a great guy.
We're not giving out his number, though.
What? Yeah.
He's not on any list.
Then you have Form B2. On the previous section, Form B1, you saw there was a chart. Form B2 doesn't come with a chart. Almost everything else is the same. The doctor's name, their license number, their stamp, their address, phone number, all that stuff. And then, you know, like I said, if you're the applicant, you would put in your information again. What's different here is instead of having a chart, you have your medical conditions, and you would write down what conditions you have, and if that's what you're going to be treating, or the symptoms that are associated with the condition, or just the symptoms if you're undiagnosed, who knows. And then for Mr. Freely, he has neuropathy, and his symptoms is pain. Now, some people have a lot more information in that little section. You know, Mr. Freely had neuropathy and pain, but some people may have, you know, a paragraph describing their conditions and symptoms. The proposed daily amount, same thing as before. You know, either you put in the amount that you understand is your effective dose, and the route of administration, whatever you need, check off inhalation, oral, one or the others. It's all up to what you need. Duration, the doctor, just like before, I never mentioned this, but the doctor can put in a shorter term if they want. Otherwise, they're signing for a period of 12 months. The medical practitioner's declaration and signature. So again, I'll bring up conventional treatments for Category 2 symptoms have been tried or considered, and the treatment found to be ineffective or medically inappropriate for the treatment of the applicant. So again, I'd just like to reiterate that who decides that, for me, I feel is the patient. And that thing about the notice of compliance. Now, with Category 2, there is this section that you need to be aware of, because general practitioners can't just sign for Category 2. They can sign, but they can't just do it without a specialist. So if you are a medical specialist, please declare all that stuff that we went over before, and that the specialist if you are not a specialist, please declare. And there's a section there that the specialist concurs that the conventional treatments for the symptoms are ineffective. You want to read all this, but generally the doctor needs to read all of this to be able to declare, like when they go to sign it, they're signing that everything in there is true. The specialist's name, the specialist's area of specialization, and the date the specialist assessed the case.
But the specialist doesn't have to fill that out, just the doctor
No,
has to
yes.
say that you have a specialist.
Yes, and the doctor can fill that out, or you can fill that out, but the doctor needs to, when he's signing, or she, they're stating that this is true. So make sure your doctor reads the declarations and all that. Actually, your doctor should be able to take care of him or herself. The next form, Form C, is if you plan to produce for your own. Now, generally, like I said, statistically, most patients do this, so it is probably likely you're going to be doing this. If not, we'll show you the other forms as well. Again, you'll see the applicant's information. Mr. Freely, he's choosing a production site of his ordinary place of residence. Now, that means he could be living in an apartment. He doesn't have to own the apartment building. Because it's his ordinary place of residence, then it's all good. Otherwise, he'd check to say, it's other than your ordinary place of residence, and that you're going to, maybe you need a Form F, consent of property owner. Just read through that section, but again, most people go on their own. Make sure you check the checkbox. Now, mode of production. You can grow either indoors, outdoors, or indoors and outdoors. So Mr. Freely, he's going with the indoor-outdoor option, and there's benefits and pros and cons to all of the above. Security measures. Now, it depends on what your security measures are going to be, what you put in here. We chose, because this is what Mr. Freely is going to be doing, it's a locked room in a locked basement in a locked house with dog and alarm and lasers and guided missiles and all that stuff. Well, not missiles, because that might be considered a booby trap, and you're not allowed to have booby traps. Just make sure you put in something. There isn't really, it seems, a minimum or maximum requirement here. I do not know of anybody being denied for not putting in enough security measures.
I think the lock on your house should be enough.
There you go. So,
it's good enough for everything else you own.
Now, if you're worried about having your application rejected because you never put in enough, just put in more, whatever you feel you need to be safe. The address where the marijuana be stored. Now, you can choose a different address where you're going to be storing, like this is where you're going to grow it, but you also have to have a storage amount because the idea is that you're cropping off every 3 months. You finally sign your name, print your name on the bottom of the page, sign your name, print your name, date of the application. Form D. This is if you want somebody to be growing for you. You're designated someone for a production license. Again, though, you still put in, Mr. Freely puts in his information. He's the one that's applying for the designated grower's license. The designated grower then has the license sent to them, and it's in the designated grower's name. But again, the applicant is putting in their name, Mr. Freely, where he lives, his phone number, all that good stuff, and then designated grower's information. So here we have Mrs. Great Granny Green Thumb, and again, it's it's last name, first, middle, date of birth, day, month, year, the full address, and phone number, fax if you have it, and email. Now, unlike before where the doctor signed your backs of your pictures, you're actually signing the back of the designated grower's picture. And when you have everything done, you make sure you check the boxes to say that you've enclosed the pictures, You also need to make sure that the designated person has a criminal record check within the last 10 years for a designated drug offense.
And they can pick that up at the local police station.
That's right. The production site. In this one, Mr. Freely is saying, the designated grower is saying, as the designated person, they're planning to produce marijuana at the address provided, page 1 of this form, where the primary residence of this grower. But again, Mr. Freely prints his name on the bottom because this is his application. Mode of production. Again, the designated grower is picking indoors in the winter and outdoors in the summer. And Mr. Freely's name on the bottom. Security measures, again, quickly, it's all that stuff we said before. There doesn't really seem to be a minimum. Put in more if you want. Security is what Health Canada is kind of concerned about. The next thing, the address where the cannabis will be stored. We put in Mr. Freely's address, and that'll work for you too. If you're put in your application your own personal address, then the cannabis will be stored at your place. And again, the name. Now the declaration signature, here on top, Mr. Freely signs it and prints it, and the date, the application, and down Mrs. Green Thumb signs it, prints her name, and the date the application is being done. Form E1, application to obtain dried marijuana. This is when you want to purchase cannabis from Health Canada. Because it's the first, in a typical application, is the first time you're applying, you check the first checkbox, and you can read what it says. And again, the applicant's information, like I said, over and over again. We'll skip that altogether. You almost get a stamp for it, exactly. Now, you can have, when you buy cannabis from Health Canada, Mr. Freely's checked off the box that he wants it sent to his primary residence. But there's actually a nifty option here. You probably want to tell your doctor about this, at least get his agreement on it or something. In this section, you can have the cannabis sent to the doctor. The declaration in here is a lot longer than it was in most of the other forms, so just, again, read through all that stuff, and then sign, print, and the date of the application. Form E2, this is for seeds, but it's kind of the same thing as Form E1. It's the same checkbox. It's the first application you're making. Applicant's information. This is Mr. Freely's stuff. Delivery instructions. Kind of close to the same before. You can either have it, Mr. Freely can have it delivered to him, or Mr. Freely can have it delivered to the designated person or designated grower. Again, there's all of those declarations. Print the name on the bottom of that page, and then on the next one, sign, print, date.
You have any technical problems?
Oh, well, sometimes I'm clicking on the mouse here, so I hope there's not much problems, but here we go anyway. Consented property owner. If you're the patient and you're going to be growing in your own apartment, it's your primary residence, it's where you live. You don't need a consent of property owner, even if you're living in an apartment building and it doesn't belong to you. That doesn't mean that it gives you special rights to modify the apartment's electrical or anything like that. You still need to follow bylaws, provincial laws, all that stuff. But basically, if you want to grow on somebody's property and it doesn't belong to you, same thing with designated grower, you can get their consent and it shouldn't be a problem because they are saying they let you do it. In this one, it starts out, all the other times it was about Mr. Freely, but in this one is property owner's information. So I own a land, lives in, pretty close to where Mr. Freely does. he's the sole owner. Oh, I own a land. And in this section of the sole owner, he's saying, I give permission to IP freely. And the owner of the land signs, prints, and dates. Now, of course, sometimes you have situations where people are joint owners.
I'll be a joint owner.
And in that case, you would have them also fill out the consent of property owner.
Release the joint lighter.
And again, in the next page, there's even more room in case there's additional property owners. And again, they're saying, I give permission to IP freely to grow on my land. If it was a designated grower, you'd say, I give permission to the designated grower. And the last thing here is the letter. And one of the reasons we bring it up is because this here section, like you probably have filled in your own information before, but the mailing address for the Marijuana Medical Access Division, I messed up a couple times. Envelopes had to go in the garbage because, this is a long section for...
It's freaking huge, man!
So just keep that in mind if you can get a big kick-ass envelope, or
It's
if you're using these ones here, it's just keep in mind how to fill in the address. And that's it for that.
All right. What we're going to talk about now is the cloning.
I'll tab that. There's a couple of, before we go on, there's a couple of things. Can you scroll down through that? If you're filling out all these forms, one of the things you should do is make a photocopy of it. Double check to make sure the names are on the bottoms of all the pages. Get a tracking number. When you do send the actual package to Health Canada, get a tracking number to Health Canada, for your package. And then once it gets to Health Canada, they have a statement on their webpage that it's a 8 to 10 week processing time between the time they get the package and the time that you're approved for your medical cannabis.
I've seen it come back as fast as 3 weeks online.
Sometimes, yeah, it is.
Don't count on it. I've seen people wait as long as 6 months.
Yeah,
so
but
there's no rhyme or reason.
But recently,
it's
been
fast
a lot.
as 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You're still not going to get an ID card. Their laminator is apparently still broken. Maybe somebody can donate $40 to the government to buy a new laminator.
Yes.
Maybe we can start a collection for them.
You can laminate the card yourself once you receive it, can you not?
There is no card. It's just a big piece of paper, right? The big pink sheet of paper that you're not allowed to fold or crease, but are supposed to carry with you everywhere you go, and it's legal size piece of paper. Right. I don't know. I'm gonna get it taped to my back. And then
8.5 by 14.
Unbelievable. Regardless, now we're back on to cloning. Last show we did. We took a cutting of Elizabeth Big Bang. It's a 9-week strain, up to 10 weeks, indica sativa, and thank God she rooted. I'll bring her on over here, and we'll plop her into the dirt so everybody knows what's going on. Here she is here.
There's Lizzie.
All kinds of roots on her, waiting to hit some dirt. Okay. And we've got her soaking right now. Got the cube soaking in some pH water with some Super Thrive in it. I've got a cup of dirt here. Let's use Sunshine Pro Mix. Make a hole big enough for the cube, and simply pick her up and put her in. Now this soil has been pre-moistened with the same water that the cube's sitting in. Because if you take those tender, white, juicy roots that have never known anything but moisture and put them up against that dry soil, it instantly burns the roots, and it'll cost you a whole day or so before the plant actually starts to stand back up again. I have a stick here because this poor baby was laying on her side in the bottle, so she's got a bit of a bend in the stem right now. So we'll offer her a little bit of support. Okay, she's in the ground, and it's that easy. Okay? No issues at all. Okay? I'll stand that back under the lights, and in tomorrow she'll be standing up, reaching for the light, and happy and healthy. That's pretty much all there is to the transplanting and cloning. It's a very simple process that can be made extremely complicated for no good reason whatsoever.
Now, do you have to worry about sterilizing or any of that?
Every process you do when you're dealing with the plant, especially when you're dealing with the roots don't normally get touched.
Mm-hmm.
Like the inside of a person don't normally get touched.
Yes.
If you're going to go touch something that normally doesn't get touched, you should be clean.
Yeah.
Okay? Like you're introducing oils and other chemicals into an environment, salts from your sweat that are going to kill the biologicals that might be in the soil right now that are helping the plant grow.
Cool.
So everything should always be clean. Everything should always be moist when it touches the roots. The less stress you give them, the better the plant will do. But they take one heck of a kicking. You guys saw it. I cut the bottom off that plant 3 times before I got it the right height for the bottle. It's still rooted. It's still healthy. And it'll still do fine. And that's that. We'll go back to the table here. And
Here.
yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to mention, though, this is the BC-style vaporizer that was donated to us recently. And what we'll do is give a quick little demonstration about how this little baby works. Okay. This is the glass bowl. Now this is basically built like a soldering iron with a cup on the top. Okay, so as far as vaporizers go, it's not a real vaporizer in the true sense of the word.
Right.
Because it's so metal, it gets so hot, it actually does burn your pot.
Mm-hmm.
So that being the case, it's still a good way to smoke. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you think you're vaporizing, you're not. So what we do is I usually take my marijuana and I bust it up in a coffee grinder. If anybody's got bad hands, okay, instead of using one of those, okay, now with the gloves and stuff, coffee grinder is definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Some pre-ground so you guys don't have to listen to all the noise. Almost like I planned it. And then you take your medicine
And just sprinkle it in.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you need a lot. And I've been thinking that if you're going with a vaporizer like this,
the less you use the better.
Right.
well, I was going to go a different direction, but that works too. Because this one's a bowl, some of them have screws right through it, so I wouldn't recommend it for that. But because this one's an enclosed bowl, I'd almost say it'd be good for vaporizing the oils. So if you just put some, cannabis oil in there.
Absolutely.
If you're legally allowed to have cannabis oil, you can just put it in there, and it should just steam off. You don't have to worry so much about burning the plant material.
No, absolutely. That would be an excellent way to smoke your resins and stuff and your hashes. It just works easier. But again, it's still not a vaporizer. You can buy vaporizers to vaporize that stuff with, and still do it with real vaporizing, right?
Yes.
How does it work with oil? Is your designated grower allowed to actually produce the oil for you?
Nobody's allowed to produce the oil right now, okay? It doesn't matter. The license right now, unless you can get a Section 56 that says that you are allowed to do the oil, and I don't know anybody that actually has one, okay, then no. Nobody's allowed to have it.
Yeah.
The one thing that works the best, the real medicine, the good stuff, the cure, whatever you want to call it, right? Nobody's allowed to have it.
That's surprising, actually.
The British Columbia court case recently, I call it the cookie case, but it's Owen Wilson, part of the Canada Buyers Club of Canada.
Speak up, man. Speak up.
They're basically going to court saying that we should be allowed to do this, and they won their court case. Now the government may appeal it, and it doesn't necessarily apply to all of Canada, but in British Columbia you probably stand a lot better chance if you were using the oil and you got caught and you had to go to court, because it's already been proved in British court
that you're allowed to bake with it anyway.
Right.
If you're allowed to alter it in any way, then you should be allowed to make the oil. That's the problem. Is like David has said on the other episodes, all we're allowed is the dry marijuana. Okay?
Right.
Period. Okay? And that's not where the medicine is.
Yes.
That's the problem. That's not where the medicine is. In order for the medicine to work, you need to eat it. We're not cows. I can't eat raw bud. And
what about you, audience? How do you feel about eating the dried marijuana? Is that something that you do?
No, I'd love to know. I know there's I posted a thing on our channel about the juicing the raw cannabis, and apparently there's some people that are getting some amazing results with that.
Right.
Cool. Talking to people.
But
exactly.
they are juicing it before you would dry it, absolutely.
Absolutely.
A dry product is not going to produce much juice.
No.
Absolutely. We actually talked about that in our second episode. We were talking about it was one of the forms of use, and it was pretty cool. But what do you do now, Donna? Donna's here. She's going to talk to us about cannabis and how she's been using it and what she uses it for.
I do prefer to eat it.
What do you use it for?
I use it for my seizures, actually,
Okay.
and I
so
do
you
prefer
have
to eat it.
epilepsy.
Yes.
Okay. They don't know.
No, they
All
didn't
right.
know that.
Okay. So you use it for epilepsy, and it does control your seizures?
It does absolutely control my seizures.
Okay. And how long have you been using cannabis for now?
Well, actually, I've been using cannabis when I was a teenager. Okay, when I had my children, I decided that I would stop smoking cannabis.
Yeah.
My seizures increased dramatically.
Wow. And, like, does it stop? Like, do you know when a seizure's coming, and if you smoke a joint, you can avoid it? Or
I
do you...
sometimes do have enough warning between the aura and the actual seizure that I can get my marijuana out, light a joint, and it will almost always, but not always, prevent a seizure.
Okay.
Between the aura?
Yes, that's the feeling that you get before you
Okay.
have the actual seizure.
Okay, it's like just a
Yeah,
feeling comes
it's-
over you. Okay.
Everybody is different.
Yeah, no, I've just never...
For me, I have either sometimes deja vu. Sometimes I actually have what they call Alice in Wonderland syndrome, where
I've heard of that
things,
before.
things feel like they're
Small,
much smaller in proportion to you, or larger.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, interesting that they chose that name.
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
it's...
So when you eat it, do you have more long-term
I do.
efficacy?
I do, and that's why I tend to eat it at night. I give myself a few minutes, usually about a half an hour before I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
And like it just seems to relax me and make me sleep, because one of the side effects of my medicine, that's my other medicine, of course,
Yeah.
is that it makes it really hard to sleep at night. You know, you're often seeing the sun come up.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have been through that. That
Yes.
sucks. But the cannabis, that pretty much makes you go to sleep all the time, does it? Or?
Well, it depends. I find that if I use an indica, which does work best for me,
Yeah.
that I get, quite sleepy.
Do you get much in the way of choices, though?
Well,
As far as indica
unfortunately,
sativa goes?
because of the situation with compassion clubs, I do have to buy from the street. You walk up to the person that's selling you the cannabis and you say, yes, what strain is that? And they look at you like you have two heads, basically.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's what I got.
Yeah, that's the problem. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't get... You're going and looking for what you need, and you're getting something to substitute.
Right, but even with that, I do find that I have better control.
Yeah.
Well,
the
then,
indica
without
will
having to
give
draw.
me the coach lock. I
Something's
feel a
still
little
better.
more like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to go to bed now.
Yeah.
So you'd be really be up for having the source of being able to go, I'd like to have some of this, and maybe some of this, and pick
I'd
up
like
two
to
or
have
three kinds and go
I'd
home.
like to have a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because actually smoking a sativa in the daytime makes it easier to get on with your day,
When
your
you have
host doesn't sit under this much dust because you've been, just sort of coach locked from the indica.
it's just easier to get up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And for any of us that have a hard time, even without the indica, some of us
Right.
have a hard time getting off our asses. Something that gives you that little bit of oomph, like the Big Bang, for example. That's one of the reasons I picked that strain. It's a sativa indica mix, but you smoke a joint of that, and in about 5 minutes you're going, I can't sit here anymore.
Yes.
I smoke the Russian, and I sit and drool on myself for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
So
I will
it's
go
what
over
you
here
want.
and dust that shelf.
Yeah, exactly. You just feel like you finally have the energy. No, that's awesome. So
because you're a Category 1, just like Mr. Freely
Right.
was,
yeah.
so is it easy to get signed by a doctor for you? Or?
It's still been difficult to get
Yeah.
a doctor to sign. I don't know exactly what doctors are afraid of, but I've had doctors tell me everything from, believe it or not, secondhand smoke. I don't get quite.
Where they're going
Maybe
with that.
somebody in your house is going for a surprise drug test tomorrow, and they might be afraid of that. I had doctors tell me that it's because I have no idea how it works, even after they've been supplied with enough information so that they should know how it works.
Yeah.
And there's doctors that just outright refuse to sign because they're afraid of their medical license being pulled, or they're afraid that you will go there somehow and tell everybody in town, and they will actually have a line up at their door.
Yeah. You know what's funny about your doctor say, we don't know how it works? There's actually a statement that they're signing. When they sign the form, doctor is saying that statement that it's not an approved drug,
Right.
that
right.
we don't know how it works. So every single doctor that signs that form is signing something. Now I'm paraphrasing,
Right.
but they're signing something that says, as a medical profession, we don't know how this works.
But
So
we're willing to give it a shot.
yes.
Yeah. So by them saying that to you, you could almost said, well, I agree.
Yes.
You don't know how it works, and if you sign here, you get to say, I don't know how this works, but we're going to try it anyway.
Right. And
Yeah.
even though, of course, that you don't have to apply to Health Canada, doctors will often say, you go there and say, Doc, I want to go see a chiropractor. Or, Doc, I'm going to try out this Chinese medicine. They never have a problem with it. Health Canada never has a problem with it. So, it's kind of bizarre to me.
That the
That
one
a
thing that's
doctor
actually
doesn't-
working
Yes.
with the least amount of side effects is the hardest thing to get your hands on.
Exactly.
That's now because you're using cannabis as medicine, and you're using a couple of pharmaceuticals
Right.
too, or one anyway.
One. Just one.
You don't wind up doing anything about the pharmaceutical, but because you use cannabis, it kind of permeates the rest of your life.
Certainly.
Okay,
And
so,
I did actually use cannabis to replace the medication that I was given at night, because of course I was given a medication to counteract the side effects of my other medication. That one was usually just to relax me and make me feel better. I can get to sleep a little better.
but it's addictive.
But it's not only addictive, it was making me seem like a zombie before I went to bed. And sometimes I would even actually forget to go to bed, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'm still in the same chair, and it's like, wow. Not only that, that medication has a warning, and it's like little product monograph that comes with it, that if you get any kind of a rash, please go to the hospital immediately, because there has been something called Stevens-Johnson syndrome that you can get from this medication that actually causes your skin to peel. You'll get a rash and your skin goes away, and you're like, wow, I can see my bones. That
would be
You
like
don't want to wait that
it
long
would be
to
like
go to your
it'd
doctor,
be like a
of course.
chemical or a bacterial burn.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, from inside. And it almost makes me wonder, what is that doing to the organs then?
No, that's terrible.
I didn't want to find out, so I said cannabis works. Hey, this.
No, and that's the way it should be. Now, on top of that, so you've had the medical issues with it. Have you had to deal with any legal or political? Like, you find you're more political now because you
I
use
am
marijuana?
absolutely more political now, because I see no reason why I cannot use cannabis. I can't walk down the street and smoke my cannabis. However, Joe across the street from me is fine. They're fine with him walking down the street, even walking past a cop, with his Coke in his hand and his morphine in the other hand. He pops a couple of morphine and he's okay.
And smokes a cigarette.
And then he gets in his car and drives away.
Yeah, because you can't smell him. He's fine.
Absolutely.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah. And you joined MUMM, and you're...
I joined MUMM, and now, I'm going to do what is necessary to make sure that cannabis is cleared by the government. So that all I want them to do is say, I don't want them to say, hey, you go buy it in your local drugstore over the counter. But a doctor should be able to just write me a prescription. I should be able to go to the drugstore, present the prescription, and, either they can dispense it for me. Since I can have it sent to my doctor, I should be able to have it sent to the pharmacist.
Well, you've been smoking marijuana, using it as medicine for so many years now. You're going to keep doing it anyway. All you're looking for is to not have to be worried about going to jail for it.
Absolutely.
A little background.
It's very inconvenient to have to continuously replace your door because they came in with a battering ram to get your 1 gram that you have sitting on the table.
Or you're just looking over your shoulder all the time. You just want to be able to use your medicine without having to worry about it. Okay, everybody wants to worry about people that might break into your house and steal your cannabis. Okay, what about the police or authorities because of somebody selling it? The house smells.
Even
them kicking
somebody
in your
who's
door.
been, totally influenced by all the propaganda to walk by you and want to call the police. Simply because, it's a nice day, and you figured, well, okay, I'd really like to go to the park. But I'd really like to just have a joint with me, just in case.
Yeah.
And, well,
if you can walk around with a
cannot be
Percocet in your pocket, why can't you walk around with a joint in your pocket?
absolutely.
Okay?
You can take your Percocet to work with you.
It's you are the one that's responsible to know that if you're too high to drive, if you're too high to go to work, if you're too high to do anything when they give you Percocet. Why should it be any different with weed? Okay, if you smoke a joint, you're too high. Mm-hmm. If you weren't going to get in the car on Percocet, then you're not going to get into the car on marijuana.
Absolutely. But even though, there's been studies done and people, they actually drive better sometimes because they're paying more attention. They're more aware of where they're going, how fast they're going, those types of things.
Absolutely. That brings us to our current events.
Yeah.
Current events.
And actually, we don't have it here in the notes, but I'd just like to bring it up. There was a case in Saskatchewan, I believe, where the judge said that a person who was driving wasn't under the influence. They did a roadside test that the police officer could smell cannabis. The person admitted, I think, to using the cannabis. Did the roadside test, and then when it went to court, the judge said no, the driver wasn't impaired, or at the very least, the police officer hasn't, shown that
she was impaired.
The person was impaired.
Well, absolutely. I kind of think that a lot of these cases that are being thrown out are because of Bill C-10. There are a lot of judges who do not agree with the mandatory minimum. Mm-hmm. And so I think that what they're doing is that they're silently protesting this by saying, I do not feel that this should be a problem.
Could be.
And therefore, since we have to give a minimum, I'd rather just not charge this person.
Yeah, that would be nice to think that that was the case.
It would be really nice.
An update on the BC Compassion Club. They were doing a charter challenge. They were supposed to be in court on August 23rd. The court date's been postponed until January, with 3 trial days scheduled for early March, despite their request for 17 days to argue the charter challenge.
Yes.
So they get 3 days to do 17 days worth of talking?
Yes.
Well,
wow.
They wanted 17, and they got...
So they're not going to be able to smoke it all before they go to the courtroom.
I think maybe what they should do is tell their lawyer, they come with a stack of about 50 affidavits and say, I want to hear every one of these people on the stand.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Well, I got a lot of faith in them because Kirk Tusow, for those of you who don't know, go watch our last episode, check out the video with Kirk Tusow, talking. You can see he's very well-informed litigator. Lawyer, I don't know if litigator is the right word, but he's a very well-spoken lawyer. He knows his stuff. He's been part of the Canada Bars Club of Canada court case, I believe. He's just well-rounded.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it, go watch our last video.
Yeah, it was
I think
video.
Actually, if the federal Liberals win,
mm-hmm.
I think it's our responsibility to hold them to the fact that they said they would legalize.
I'm not sure because I'm a newbie in the whole world of politics.
If you go to the Liberal Party's
I think the Liberals
website,
have always said that they were for it, and they've never done anything about it when they were in power.
Yeah, but on their website, they do say that it is part of their mandate.
Yes, they did recently have that vote.
Yes,
where they
said... I got a letter back from Jack Layton years ago about... I was asking about it, and they said they were behind it, blah, 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 and, now we'll have to see if that carries on. I mean...
Yes. Well, they're worried about re-election.
Yeah.
Maybe the Liberals should be worried about getting elected next time.
Yeah. You guys know, if you don't, well, there's a 2014 proposed changes to the marijuana medical access regulations. Most patients are generally worried that they're going to take the ability to grow for ourselves away and give it to big producers. So what I did is an access to information request. I requested all of the paperwork up till now that people have submitted for the proposed changes.
Okay.
Lots of information in there from now it's not specific documents, like you won't be able to go to see that access for information request and read that the Canadian Fire Chiefs Association, here's their letter. But what I did get was kind of a statistical analysis of all of the meetings that they had, as well as a statistical analysis of all of the comments sent in. So if you as a patient sent in, I don't agree with the 2014 changes because I'm worried that I won't be able to afford to grow my own medicine because, I won't be able to afford my medicine because I grow it now for free, and that's what I can afford.
Exactly.
So
would it in any way be possible to perhaps get that information from the Fire Chiefs Association or whatever it is. To
Oh,
say,
yes.
Yes. What letter did you send? And
Interesting
was
enough,
contained in the letter?
just like you mentioned it, but previous to doing this access information request, I did write the Canadian Fire Chiefs Association.
And what did they have to say?
I got their letter, and the first thing I noticed in their letter was the word the letters RE. So whatever they were saying was a response to Health Canada's whatever.
Right.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. They're basically in agreement that, right now, as things are, it can be dangerous fire-wise, maybe safety-wise, because they're worried about things not being up to code. So that's their worries.
But
their
that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with growing. I've been into people's houses
Yeah.
that they've got 12 extension cords on their
Exactly.
kitchen counter just for the appliances. I mean, you're allowed to do that. What's
Oh.
the difference?
Well, of course, they're going to put every barrier in place
People
that
run
they can.
extension cords underneath their carpets, underneath their area rugs. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's got nothing to do with growing. It doesn't make you less intelligent or more safety.
Of course, and
irresponsible.
especially since you're going to have an electrician come in and inspect the wiring for you, somewhat more safe, I would say.
Well, it's because it's such a risk that people don't want to talk to anybody about it, okay?
Right.
If we weren't so friggin' scared all the time,
Yes.
okay, that the person that you had come into your house to help you set up your electrical wasn't going to show up 3 months later and friggin' rob you,
right.
okay,
right.
then it wouldn't be a big deal, okay? Or that they were going to go talk to their friends and then the cops were going to come kick your
Yes.
door in because he thought it was maybe you were illegal, okay?
Right,
Whatever the
right.
case may be. And that's why you don't do it. You need the openness. You need the
Yes.
fear's got to go away. And then people won't be scared to go
Yes,
to an electrician.
yeah.
They won't be scared to talk to somebody that knows an electrician. They'll come in on their spare time.
Exactly.
Because, I find sick and poor tend to go hand in hand. So a lot of us just straight up can't afford an electrician.
Certainly.
Okay? I mean, you're throwing some plants together in a closet. You're just trying to hope that everything works.
Yeah.
Having some guy come in
Of course
for $80 an hour is a bit of a killer.
Well,
Nobody-
you can actually do it yourself, or have your grandfather do it, and then have an electrician come in, inspect it, and give us okay.
Absolutely. As long
They're
as
willing to
you're
sign.
an electrician that's willing to sign for it. The thing is,
Right.
it's not usually worth any less than him doing the job in the first place.
No, certainly. You don't
that
want to have to
signature
rip
is
it
worth
all
as
out.
much as the entire job. So,
Yeah. Ripping it out and then having them come back in is, not exactly good.
what else is there, David?
Well, the MUMM calendar, just a reminder, we're still looking for advertisers. We're doing pretty good that way, but, more money the better.
And if you do have a cannabis date that's coming up within the next year, and the date is set, contact us and let us know. That will actually be on the calendar, along with Christmas and Easter and
Right on.
Yeah, and the Nolan report. And,
certainly, yes.
Stuff like that. Memorials, if you want to put memorials on there. Testimony about medical cannabis. We're doing, spreads. The top piece of the calendar is going to be, a picture of the patient or maybe, the bud or something like that. And then a little breakdown.
Yeah. So for that, if you're interested in
Yeah.
doing a testimonial, contact Mum. Chair at mum.ca and leave a
film.
message with Debbie and see what she says. I don't know, because there's only 12 months,
Right,
so I don't know if
yes.
they're all full or not.
Yeah.
Just because you're writing in doesn't mean you're going to get on the calendar.
No.
And if anybody wants to help out with the creation of the calendar, I think they're always looking
We're
for
getting pretty close
more
to the
helpers.
end now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
the more the
for sure.
merrier, I'm
Yeah.
sure. All right, what else is there? We got Harvest Fest coming up September 5th,
Yeah.
next weekend.
mm-hmm.
Okay, looking forward to that.
We'll actually be, going there, try to do some stuff for the show. So
Couple of
maybe
interviews,
we'll come
maybe a couple of, videotaping. Don't know if I'm going to spend the night myself, thinking about it, but
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
it sounds rough, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have to look at the weather. Then we got the Freedom Tour. Neil Magnuson.
Yes, he was, on the 29th, he was at the Manitoba Legislature, along with William Vandergraaf. Now,
Will.
a lot of people, don't know who Will is, but if you're in the circles,
Yes.
this guy, he's been a long time anti-prohibition. He wears the LEAP t-shirt, so I'm pretty sure he's a member of LEAP.
That's law enforcement against prohibition.
That's right.
Yes.
He looks like a kick-ass. He totally looks awesome. So if only for that, to go check out the Freedom Tour, do that. But they're
So if you want to go check out an awesome dude at the Freedom Tour, apparently it's not Neil. Sorry, Neil. It's William.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
Neil's
think,
awesome too, I guess.
Yeah,
so
I
that's
don't
all
think
right.
I don't think Neil will mind.
But
Just a reminder, Neil will be out towards our area around the 11th, and hopefully we'll be able to get a nice show in with him.
maybe not so much now.
Yeah.
And we urge you to check out the Freedom Tour website, the Facebook page. It's just find it there. It's under the events. It should be no problem.
Yeah.
And then there's Dr. KarmaMMMS. He'll be here in Nova Scotia on the 4th of September.
Not under great circumstances.
No, but he'll be here at the provincial court to. We're going to get there together as a group and show some support. And I think there's not a whole lot of seating at the provincial court, so.
No, there isn't.
And we're looking for a nice, peaceful kind of
So get
silent
there early.
protest kind of thing. So go down and show our support for a guy that's helped a lot of people become legal who otherwise were completely unable to become legal.
And if you have a MUMM shirt, wear it.
Ah, nice, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, some people might have saw just showing up on Facebook recently. There's a couple of people charged. They were raided back in February. I couldn't find anything what was going on that was recent about it. Perhaps the charge was laid recently. This is in British Columbia, and some of you guys may have come across the website, immedicate.com, and if so, they're associated with those two people. And, we'll follow up on that in the next episode if we can.
Sounds good.
There's going to be a showing of the Union in Halifax. It's going to be at the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, 1741 Hollis Street.
And I think I just clicked that I'm going to go.
Yes.
Yeah?
I'll be there.
I think I'll be there.
I'd like to be there. It's being put on by Normal Women's Alliance of Canada. Megan Leslie, who's an MP, is going to be there. And hopefully you as guests. I mean, they're looking to show it to...
I just said that.
Yeah, well, I don't care about you. I care about the people that
Our
haven't seen the
MP
movie.
is actually allowed to make an inquiry to Health Canada, too, just to see how far along your application is. And
Right on.
In a more somber news, Stephen Godfrey, his apartment building burned down and all of his stuff is gone. He doesn't even have a pair of glasses right now.
Lucky to get out with the
I-
clothes he was wearing.
I
guess.
don't even know how to talk to him to find out how to help him because
He can't read you.
He can't read my Facebook posts,
Yeah,
and
it's
he doesn't have
terrible.
a phone or anything. It's so.
So we're trying to get a hold of him right now. Steve's Hydroponics is accepting donations.
right.
If you take it down there and they send you away, you got somebody that doesn't know that Steve's Hydroponics is accepting donations. So leave them there. One of us will come get them and get them to Steven as soon as we can relocate him.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been talking to Debbie a couple times online, so
Through phone as well.
he is around and he's in need, so I expect that we will definitely hear from him.
So, because he's looking for clothes, just to give you a heads up, he wears between size small and medium. His pants are 30 by 32 inseam. He does plan on reestablishing in Halifax. He doesn't want to live in Amherst. He's always not wanted to live in Amherst for a long time now. But now he doesn't live anywhere, so he wants to
And
establish
if you have
himself
any
here.
chairs or tables or anything like that that's just kicking around, it would be nice if you would donate them rather than sell them at your next yard sale. So
Absolutely.
It's all
Yeah,
in
the
the
guy
garbage.
needs everything.
Yeah.
And after that, we've got the weather. Okay, today is September 1st.
Yes.
And as of September 1st, everything should be in bud right now. You should have your bloom fortifiers, your Monster Bud or
Right.
Monster Bloom or
it's
any
been
of
dry,
those.
so you might want to take them a drink.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
constantly. Water, water, what? You can't even overwater at this point.
Okay.
It's like near impossible. They're going to drink it and drink it and drink it. Thank God the temperature's starting to drop in the evenings now. But so make sure you get your bloom enhancers on there. Bud should be coming along, and stay safe. Make sure nobody can follow you in the woods, and
And
don't leave trails behind.
Yeah.
normally I do this at the beginning of the news.
As absolutely.
Yes.
But he's going to finish the news with it. Also, make sure you don't leave your trash in the woods either, okay? The bags from your soil, the jugs from your food. Take that stuff back out of there with you. Not only will it get you caught,
never works.
because it's not only will it get you caught, it's just you can't be leaving that crap in the woods. It just makes it worse for everybody.
And we mean caught by people who would want to steal your plants because you're doing it legally.
Oh,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And don't be too high when you
Well,
go
no,
into the woods,
well,
because
not
you do
only
want to
just that.
remember the way back.
Absolutely, but
Yeah.
not only just that. I mean, even if you're legal and it's in the woods and it's not just people stealing it, it can all get cut down and then that questions can be asked later.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they will wait for you to return so that they can at some point, say, okay, this is the guy with the plants.
Exactly.
And then you show them
Exactly.
your license and, hey, this is my wood lot.
Yeah, still too much hassle.
So as far as the vaporizer goes, if anybody can tell me the name of the clone, what name we gave her, okay, and you type it on our YouTube underneath the video, make a message there. The first person to make a comment, that's your vaporizer.
Right.
Minus the cannabis. I'm sorry. We're gonna smoke that, and then you can have the vaporizer.
Yeah, you know that there's this impulse to write first anyway.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yes.
So there it is. That's the prize.
Gotta remember the name of the plant.
Name of the
Remember
plant.
the name of the plant.
Not the kind. That's Big Bang. I'll give you that. That's not what I'm looking for. We gave her a name. It's a girl.
Yes.
All right. For the next show, we'll be talking about Harvest Fest and the time that we had there, and bring
Maybe
you
a
another.
few interviews.
Yeah, bring you another interview of somebody else that uses cannabis for another condition.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to thank you for watching the show.
Yes, thank you.
We want to thank Computer Tuner for providing the equipment we use to make this show possible. And want to make note again that Steve's Hydroponic is accepting donations on Sackville Drive for Stephen Godfrey. And Karma Compassion is still accepting donations for John Cook from the Cannabis Buyers Club of Canada, Normal Nova Scotia, and the Vice Chair of MUMM.
Where could we get tickets to the Harvest Fest?
The Harvest Fest, which is in 1 week, are available at all the head shops in Metro. Every single one of them. They've been dropped everywhere.
Cool.
You can't not get a hold of the tickets.
Great.
If you can't find them anywhere else, get a hold of MUMM on the Facebook
Right.
event page, and we'll get tickets to you. And that's that. Peace, love, and hippie shit. You guys take care of yourself, stay safe, and have a good day.